Hello, I'm Henry, and I watched a movie. I watched Venom Let There Be Carnage, and I would like to talk about it, please. A film in which a murderer, played by Woody Harrelson, and his love interest go on a crime spree. The two bond over their past trauma and live life in the fast lane, however it is only a matter of time before their outlaw ways catch up with them. Henry, I hear you ask, why are you reading us a summary of the 1994 film Natural Born Killers? I'm afraid I'm not. I am, somehow, reading you a summary of the 2021 film Venom Let There Be Carnage. As someone who watched Natural Born Killers many years ago, watching Let There Be Carnage was a weird experience. There was an almost immediate twinge at the back of my head right from the off, like deja vu, like I'd seen the movie before, and that twinge built and built as the movie went on until eventually the light bulb lit up and I understood what was happening. The two movies are the same. Venom Let There Be Carnage is Natural Born Killers. And my initial feeling was relief because the twinge was quite annoying and I would have gone to bed angry at not being able to put my finger on what was actually going on here. But when the twinge went away, the feeling was only confusion. Why did they do this? Why did they remake Natural Born Killers 27 years later in a sequel to a film about alien goo? This would be like the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie being a remake to Jackie Brown, or Toy Story 5 being The Departed. Why did they do this? Is it just because they got Woody Harrelson? He's been in other movies since 1994 and none of them are reskins of Natural Born Killers. Or is it because they genuinely thought the story of Carnage resonated with that of Mickey Knox? If they did think that, this video is here to show them that they were very wrong. I mean, this video and the reviews they got. I got into Marvel and superheroes as a whole through the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. The one with the theme that goes diddle-dee-doo, 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 dee-doo-dee-doo. Not quite as iconic as the X-Men theme, but it still goes pretty hard. And ever since the moment he showed up in that show, Carnage has been my favourite Marvel character. To this day, he is my favourite Marvel character. And the reason for that has changed over the years. Initially, when I was a kid, it was just his design. I already liked Venom, and here comes this red version who's like sleeker and leaner, but also somehow stronger at the same time. He can create axes and spikes. He's just really cool. And then, when I became a teenager, I liked him because he was edgy and violent and grim. The red on his suit is blood and he'll kill you in a really horrific way. But now, as an adult, I like Carnage because he is simple. It feels like, these days, to be a villain that people like, they need to be either right in their reasoning from a certain point of view, or have some wordy insight into society as a whole, or have deep, strong, driving motivations. And I'm not knocking villains like that. Villains like that need to exist and they elevate the genre as a whole. But sometimes they can get a bit much. It can get a bit heavy, it can laid on a bit thick. So the best palate cleanser to all that is a villain that is the exact opposite. Carnage is not right in his reasoning from any point of view. He has no dissertation to give you on the workings of humanity, and his motivations are as shallow as a puddle. That's why I like him. He's a crazy person. That is all. He likes killing people. That is all. And yes, in the expansive, endless world of the comics, there have been deeper stories told with Carnage. But I'm talking sort of on a conceptual level here. The idea of Carnage is simple. He doesn't ask anything of you as the audience. There are no pretenses, there are no subtexts. You can just sit back and let him do his thing. He is simple. He is so simple and base in his character motivations and character depth that his symbiote, his alien goo, bonds with him completely. The man is crazy, the alien is crazy, and they come together so perfectly that where Venom refers to himself as we, Carnage refers to himself as I. I think that's brilliant. I think it's all brilliant. And for whatever reason, when they were putting the script together for Venom Let There Be Carnage, they decided to take all that and chuck it out the window so it would fit into this redo of Natural Born Killers that they wanted to make. Tragic and sympathetic are two words about as far away from Carnage as tall and well built are from me. And yet that is the Carnage they try to feed us in this movie. If you remember how I just described Carnage as a simple monster psychopath who likes murder and murder alone, tragic and sympathetic don't really gel with that, do they? In fact, I think they might have picked the single worst Marvel character to try and graft those traits onto. But they had to do it. The Woody Harrelson character has to be tragic and somewhat sympathetic here, because the Woody Harrelson character was tragic and somewhat sympathetic in Natural Born Killers. Now, I should say I am aware of the backstory of Cletus Cassidy, the man inside Carnage, and that backstory could be seen from a certain angle if you squint as somewhat sympathetic. However, it is absolutely not this romantically tragic, deeply conflicting thing that Let There Be Carnage tries to construct. Movie Carnage's love interest is the villain Shriek. And in the comics, the two do in fact break out of a superhuman prison / mental health hospital together, just like they do in the movie. However, from that point, it does not become Natural Born Killers, because they escape with this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and shoehorning a Natural Born Killers storyline into it, while including people like this, would be, well, hilarious, but it'd also be bad. It does become this weird family dynamic thing, but it's not this romantic drama ingrained with tragedy and longing. The book's called Maximum Carnage if you want to check it out. But all you really need to know here is it came out in 1993, and if you remember, Natural Born Killers came out in 1994. So that Carnage story couldn't become Natural Born Killers because it didn't exist yet. This Carnage story did though, and it just does not work. The movie asks you not to root for the Carnage Sheik coupling, because they are still villains, but to, I don't know, sort of enjoy their antics in a sort of Joker Harley Quinn way. They aren't cool though, they aren't fun though, they aren't gritty though, and they aren't engaging though. Because this is all kinds of wrong. This is not the story to tell with these characters. I don't like them or anything they're doing. I don't really care about them or anything they're doing. Which means I feel no sympathy when we get their tragic backstories. I feel no connection with their hammy romance. And I feel no catharsis during their revenge rampage. It just washes over you. It's just happening. While this is all going on, the other plot line in the movie is happening, because this is a Venom film, remember? Venom and Eddie Brock are having relationship troubles and aren't working together properly anymore. So much so that they separate. Why did they do that when at the end of the last movie everything seemed fine? Because sequel, and because of the parallel arcs they're trying to do with Venom and Carnage. Venom and Eddie struggle with each other throughout the movie and come together at the climax. Carnage and Cletus work together throughout the movie and come apart at the climax. This is another thing that just does not work. Ignoring the forced out of nowhere conflict between Venom and Eddie. Do you remember what I said about Carnage and Cletus? About them being so perfect for each other they refer to themselves as I and not we? It's amazing that the movie saw that and decided to do the exact opposite for the climactic moment. Symbiotes already have two well-known, concrete, easy-to-write weaknesses: sound and fire. And yet the movie decided to invent a conflict between man and symbiote that shouldn't exist to act as their downfall. Between the romantic dynamic with its attempted Shakespearean undertones and the inversion of the character's tentpole aspect, can't stress enough just how none of the carnage in this movie is carnage. This is messy and complicated and melodramatic, and it shouldn't be any of those things. So that's the beautiful simplicity of the character ruined. That's adult me checked out. Adult me does not like this. Would teenage me or kid me like it? No, and no. The movie's PG-13, so it's tame and clean and about as toothless as a movie can be while still containing quite a lot of actual teeth. Teenage me would have been like, yeah, I'm just gonna go back to watching Afro Samurai. And kid me? Well, kid me liked Carnage because he just looks so flipping cool. And well, this is a modern superhero blockbuster made by a money-hungry, corner-cutting movie studio and an effects team crunched into oblivion. So does Carnage look good in it? No. No, he does not. Seriously though, why did they do this? I can really only think of two reasons why Let There Be Carnage is the way it is. It's either a homage or it's lazy. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it is the former. However, let's just explore the latter real quick. It is infinitely easier to rip the premise and the outline and the structure out of another movie and then build on that, rather than create something from scratch. Maybe someone had just a weekend to knock up a screenplay and they just cobbled together something based on the last thing they watched. And look, two star-crossed lovers on the run from the law isn't exclusive to Natural Born Killers. There are obvious, like, Bonnie and Clyde vibes here too. So maybe aspects were pinched from various different places with Natural Born Killers as the main source. A possibility. But as I said, let's not assume laziness on anyone's part but my own, and say that Venom Let There Be Carnage is a Natural Born Killers homage. for some reason. Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier in the video, but it's definitely worth saying now. Natural Born Killers isn't good, everybody, and it's certainly not something that warrants an homage. It came and went, and that was that. It's not The Godfather, it's not lingering in the collective pop culture consciousness. This would be like if in 2030 someone decides to make a homage of the movie SWAT. And if you were doing a homage here, there are about 1 million better movies to pick, especially for a Venom sequel. Let's look at what we have here with this Carnage. It's an alien. An angry, evil alien that wants to find you and kill you. That's pretty much it. Are there any other movies that sound like that? If you said Alien and or Predator, you would be very correct. If they were going to homage something, why didn't they homage Alien or Predator? And hey, even if you are lazy and only have a weekend to knock out a screenplay, the thing pretty much writes itself. Carnage symbiote spawns from Venom and bonds with Cletus Cassidy. Doesn't matter how that happens as long as it's better than what they actually did, with Eddie Brock doing some true crime reporting and Cletus Cassidy biting him through the bars of the lightest guarded prison cell on the West Coast. Cassidy breaks out of prison, and because the two are so perfectly connected, there is no duality, there is no conflict between alien and man, and there is no tragic Bonnie and Clyde nonsense, just Carnage causing carnage. He kills his way through San Francisco, picking off important characters until a final face-off with Venom. Carnage can be the Xenomorph, and Venom can be Ripley. Or Carnage can be the Predator, and Venom can be Dutch. Both work. Both work infinitely better than the way it is now, with Carnage being Mickey Knox and Venom being, I don't know, Detective Jack Scagnetti? Maybe that's too on the nose though. Maybe they needed to pick something that specifically didn't have aliens in it, and they defaulted to Natural Born Killers. I don't know, man. I'm starting to think it was neither, actually. This isn't an homage or a result of laziness. You know how they just remake movies from the 80s and 90s? They aren't sequels, they aren't really reboots. They're just a different take on the same movie again. They did it with RoboCop, they did it with like Point Break, they did it with a bunch of things. Well, I think something like that might have happened here too. I think there was a script for a Natural Born Killers remake laying on some Sony executive's desk. At the same time, they were looking to do the Venom sequel. They saw the script, they saw the hilariously awful Woody Harrelson post-credits scene in the first Venom movie, they put two and two together, and $110 million later, we have Venom Let There Be Carnage. You ever seen Cars? The Pixar movie, Cars? Well, the moment that movie came out, people called it out for being an almost beat-for-beat remake of a movie called Doc Hollywood. This shouldn't be news to you, I don't think. It's been quite well publicised. But whether it's a rip-off or isn't really the point here. The point is, Doc Hollywood got a similar critical reception to that of Natural Born Killers. It is a film that I would also say isn't worth copying out of laziness and doesn't really warrant an homage, but they did something with it anyway, just like they did here. Maybe they just hoped we wouldn't notice. Maybe they thought if they copied something mid, people wouldn't be able to spot the similarities because no one would remember them or care. Well, we did. We did with Cars, and we did with Venom Let There Be Carnage. Maybe we should be on the lookout for a movie coming out soon that copies the movie SWAT. That would be like the next How to Train Your Dragon movie or something. One more thing. Guess who was also in Doc Hollywood? One Woodrow Tracy Harrelson. It all comes full circle, full triangle. Hi everyone, thanks a lot for getting to the end of the video. I saw that YouTube did this update where the like button glows when someone in the video tells you to like, so let's see if this works. Like and subscribe. I can't tell if it worked. 2 movies down, 2 more to go. I've got an idea of one of them. I don't actually have an idea for the last one, so the 4th one is gonna be a surprise for me too.